Today we're going to be revisiting last year's holiday palettes. So at this time last year, there was a lot of new releases. I feel like brands were kind of excited last year. I feel like there was a bunch of stuff coming out, and I feel like a lot of brands were releasing a lot of holiday releases. I do believe last year I kind of jumped on the bandwagon of buying a bunch of the new holiday launches, and I have a few. Like, I didn't buy everything, because you guys know I do my Make Up Your Mind where I don't buy everything unless like I feel like I'm gonna get use out of it. But last year I did pretty bad. I bought a bunch of stuff. So what we're going to do in today's video, this was a recommendation from an amazing subscriber, so thank you so much for this recommendation. We're going to go through the palettes that I bought last year during the holiday season, and I'm going to let you know whether I think I got my money's worth or not, and where are they now? Where are they now? Am I using them? And I'll tell you guys, as I was pulling stuff out, I kind of went like, ooh, when was the last time I opened her? So yeah, this is going to be the start of revisiting older stuff in our collections. We are going to be focusing a little more on that on the channel because I am listening to you guys and I do know that that's what you want. So we're going to go and jump back in time. Let's look at the palettes that I purchased last year during holiday season and where are they now? So I'm not going to put this in order because, to be honest, like, I have no idea when I picked these things up. I had to go through my old YouTube videos to kind of like figure it out. And let's start off with this one. So guys, this is from Charlotte Tilbury. You guys know I love when she does the holiday launches because I do think it's a great way to try her brand. So this one was called The Smoky Eyes Are Forever. I'm sorry if I sound sinusy today. I do have another cold. I know. My daughter keeps bringing colds back from school and I keep catching them. I thought it was such a pretty palette. When I first tried it, I was kind of like, It kind of reminded me so much of the Smoky Eyes to Hypnotize, which honestly they were very, very similar. But I didn't use this one as much as I used the Smoky Eyes to Hypnotize. I feel like that palette, when I got it, I used it so often, and this one I didn't. What happened? I don't know why I haven't used this one this much. Actually, I almost feel like I should add her to my fall lineup of palettes that I should be using for the fall, because I just remembered, like, I forgot that I bought this palette. Okay, so that is the truth. I forgot about this palette completely. And honestly, she's so pretty. Like, this is a shame. This one's a shame. So the next palette that I picked up during holiday season was the Nars Bijoux palette. Is it Bijoux? I think it's Bijoux. This is what it looks like. Okay, so you guys saw my recent video where 3 of the shades decided to jump out of the palette. I did smush some of them back into place, but not every single one of them survived. Now this palette, I feel like in the beginning of the year, I did get a pretty good use out of it. I was using it, but I have to admit, like, even though this is a really pretty palette, I really like the Climax palette better than this one. So they're both by Nars and they have a very similar look. And for some reason, I would reach for the Nars Climax more than this one. Now, I did add her to my lineup of products that I want to start using now for the fall to actually get some use out of it, because I do feel like this is a really pretty color story. Like, do I think I got a lot of use out of this one? No. This never became an everyday palette for me. It never became like a go-to either. I still don't think it would be a go-to because of the color story, but I am going to try using it a little bit this fall during my fall lineup. I don't know. I feel like this one I'm not going to get the amount of use out of it that I should. I just don't know why. I usually like jump for like the same palettes, or there's so many new releases that I tend to jump around. Okay, so now this one, the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz. So this one, I do think I got a lot of use out of it because when I got this one during holiday season, I wore it, and then I started wearing it again in the spring. Now, I do feel like I really should pull this one for spring. So when spring palettes come around, when I start pulling palettes to use for spring, this is something I need to get some more use out of it because it is just gorgeous. Like, this is an amazing palette. Ethereal, very ethereal looks. Like, that's what I feel like. When I put this on, I feel like I'm coming into like a fantasy world, and it's just really pretty. So I do think I should get a little bit more use out of this one. And I actually, out of all the ones I've shown you so far, this is the one I'm happiest to add to my collection. And I know it's like the weirdest one or like the strangest color story, but that's why I like it, because it's so different. It's something that if I need an ethereal look, like, this is so easy to get that look. So yeah, I mean, did I get the use out of it? I guess this one I have, because I have used it a lot, but I need to use it more. So this one is actually a shame. And you know, there's going to be some of you guys that are going to say, wow, Christina, I cannot believe you're saying that right now. And I get it. Trust me, I get it. Retro. So retro is Natasha Denona. You guys know I love Natasha Denona, but the retro palette is just not it for me, okay? I don't know what it is about this color story because I typically do like burgundies, but I feel like this one just went really red, and that red undertoned burgundy doesn't look as good on me than like the purpley toned burgundies. So I feel like when I put this on, I get like very pinkish colored lids no matter what I do, and a lot of the looks look exactly the same. And something that was always missing from this palette for me was a brown, and maybe I just really love brown. It might be that, because every time I use a palette I'm always looking for like a deep rich brown or darker color, and this one here is the deepest it goes, but it's not even like that deep. Like when you use these on your eyes, if you have this palette, you might know what I'm saying. It's like it's missing a little dimension, but then the dimension that it does have goes in a burgundy direction that leans red that I don't love. So every time I see this palette, I tend to not reach for it. This to me is something that I'm not like regretful that I have it in my collection, because I do use colors. So it is Natasha Denona, it's my favorite formula. So let's say I'm using another palette like the Glam palette, and I want to add something a little bit glittery but in a more pinky direction. I could always grab some of these colors, which I've done before. I also love this color Jude. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Jude is the most beautiful color in this palette. So it's not like I don't step into this palette, but like as an all-in-one palette, I really don't like this one. Like it's just not for me. I guess I don't have my money's worth with that one, to be honest, because I just really don't use it that often, but I'm happy to have it. Okay, so during holiday season, Natasha Denona released 2 minis, I believe it was. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 2. I might have not picked up some of the like extra minis, those I didn't get, but Metropolis. So mini Metropolis was one that I remember was like around October time, because I actually went up to North Carolina and I remember trying this up over there. So this is a really cute mini. It is so reminiscent of Big Metropolis that in my collection, this is just super redundant. So like I use my Big Metropolis and it has almost all these shades. I believe that there was only 2 shades in here that are new, right? I think it was only 2, and it's like these last 2 here. So like everything else came straight out of Metropolis. And I have the Big Metropolis. So unless I wanted to travel with this palette, it really doesn't make sense for me. So no, I don't get my use out of this. I usually just jump into Big Metropolis, and these are not colors that I would travel with. Like it's just not my aesthetic for traveling. So this one, I mean, it was a waste. I guess it was kind of wasteful for me to pick this up, you know, in retrospect, now looking back. Yeah. This is one that also came out from Natasha, and this was towards the end of the year, almost to New Year's. I remember trying this. Yeah, I think it was right before New Year that this came out. But anyways, this is the mini Biba. Now, this one I do like. And actually, to be completely honest, I like this color story a little bit better than the actual big Biba, because this went in a peachier direction, kind of play on each other, but they are different to each other. And I actually really like this palette. I have used this a few times. I mean, I think you guys can tell from the usage that it has been used. Like this is not one that I like just sat there and never got used. Out of all of my minis from Natasha, this is one of the most used ones. I just feel like all these colors together create a beautiful look. It's very cohesive. It's very easy to use. I do wish that this tone here was a deeper brown. I keep saying that, but I just feel like a lot of palettes just need that richness. And even though this is a good color, it just needed a little bit more depth to it, just a little bit more, just so I could take it to where I want. But I mean, I like it. I mean, this one I got my use out of at least. I feel like I'm getting use out of it and I'm still using it, so I'm happy with that one. And it's kind of sad so far that it's like a mini that has gotten me the most excited out of all these palettes, and some of them are very, very, very expensive. All right, this one. This one's such a shame. Okay, so Pat McGrath, Utopian Dream. This was an expensive little regret. Now I guess I can't say I regret it, but I guess I kind of do, because I mean, it's pink. There's so much pink in here. Every time that I do eye looks with this, I end up getting like very pinkish looking eyes. I don't like pink eyes. As much as I've tried, as much as it's been in at a certain point, like, I just don't like the way pink eyes look on me. I feel like I look sick or there's something wrong with my eyes, you know? I have done looks before that I've been happy with them, but like, it's like, I don't know. So like, this palette to me is not a palette I reach for very often because it goes in a very pinky direction. And the quad down here, these 4 tones that I actually do like, the Venus and Floors, which is a palette that I own from her, basically has those same colors and they're less pink. They're like more brownish. So it's more me, you know? So like this palette, as beautiful as it is, it's so aesthetically pleasing. Like you stare at it and you're just like gorgeousness. I just don't use it. Like I hardly use it. I will tell you, I do reach into this palette to steal these glitters every once in a while. So if I want to do like a glittery lid, there is nothing like Pat McGrath's, like Blitz Astro from Pat McGrath. Like this is like glittered for days and it's amazing. I actually think what she should do is just come out with quads of this formula so that we can stop buying these motherships just for it. I know it sounds horrible, but I mean, if you have one color, you could just put it on top of like a lot of different eyeshadow looks and you don't need like 70 of these glitters. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, that's the truth for me. I feel like I use these colors. They almost look the same on the lid and they just add some beautiful glitteriness and I could have done with one of them, you know? Yeah, the palette is pretty. The quality is there. It's just not my color story. And that's what happens a lot of times when we purchase outside of our color story or outside of something that we actually like to wear. It sits there, you know? So I'll actually do a video soon of all the palettes that I purchased outside of my color story and you will see how many of them I never use. And the last one is also a Pat McGrath and this is her big old Mothership Mega holiday releases. I do love these palettes, I'll be honest. Like, they're $82, I think. I actually forgot how expensive they were, and I thought they were $60. I ended up spending $80. But this was last year's version of it. I buy these every year. Should I? Probably not, okay? Because, like, I don't jump into them very often. But, like, I feel like if you want to try Pat McGrath, and you want to invest in any of her palettes, I honestly think that this is the better route to just wait for the holiday and get these mega palettes that you get so many colors. The formula is so similar, like it's almost identical to her formula. Maybe there's like little tweaks here and there. The only formula really that you don't get is some of those like blitzy astral ones, but like I'm saying, she's gonna end up coming out with a quad eventually that's gonna have those. Just buy the quad and then, you know, you could just use that color on top of everything. But I like this palette. I don't think that I've gotten that much use out of it. Again, I added this one. Again, it's so sad every time I say that and I think I spent $82 on it. Like I really should be reaching into this more, but I don't and I should. I don't and I should. So I think I need to force myself to use this one because it really is gorgeous. I don't know what it is. It could be the arrangement. Aesthetically is so cool to look at, but when you go to use it, it gets a little confusing. This palette also was like one of those palettes that's like a mixer to me. Like you try to use this on its own and the colors, like you could only use like 2 colors. You're always missing something or you want to go into another palette. Like you got a lot of color here, but not all of them like jive so well together. So sometimes when those palettes come to me that I'm like, you know, like I want to jump into another palette, I usually don't use that palette. Like I'm like, let me just use the all-in-one easy one. You know, like it's so sad, but like the ones that I use the most are like these kind. The Patrick Ta's, you know, like these type of palettes are like every direction you go, you're going to go in a good direction. And anytime like I'm like, I need to make sure this eye look is like amazing, I always go for my safe palettes, you know, and this to me is not really safe. Formula-wise, it is. It's a beautiful formula, but like color story-wise, it's not that safe because you can make a disaster if you mix some of the wrong colors together, like some of the blues with the browns. Ooh, it'll be like. So like, did I get my use out of that palette? No, I guess not. So if you guys can see any outcome from this video, it's that the holiday releases are just so beautiful. They're glitter in your eyes. You look at them and you're like, I need them all in my life right now. But sometimes they just sit there because they're cool and usually they're very creative. They're very interesting, but maybe not as practical as we actually think that they are because a lot of them I ended up not getting that much use out of, which is very sad. But it's the truth. So that is my holiday lineup from last year and how many of them I actually used. I want to know from you guys right now. Your holiday palettes that you purchased last year, like between October and December time, Was there any that became like holy grails for you, or did they kind of like sit aside just like mine? I want to know. Leave me those comments. But anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.